of that hole properly calculated.
Yes, the mathematics are correct, yes.
And given that, showing that basically the area of the exit wound, of the entry wound rather, is almost 3 times larger than the square area of the exit wound, does that have any significance as to your analysis of this case?
Well, it shows that from a surface area standpoint, the exit wound is clearly smaller than the entrance wound, and that is not what I would expect for a fully mushroomed silver-tipped bullet that was exiting from the body. It should be larger.
Now, in order to determine the discrepancy then between the entry wound and the exit wound, is there something, when you would expect a larger exit wound in this case, is there something that as a forensic pathologist you would be looking for at the time the original autopsy is done that would help you explain this significant difference in size?
Yes, well, I would be looking for any evidence that there were pieces of the retained bullet of some sort within the body. Obviously, some portion or major portion of the bullet, which we don't know, just looking at the holes, we don't know how much this portion is, but some portion exited the body of the officer, during the course of the gunshot wound. So from my perspective as a forensic pathologist, what is next, the most important thing is to look on the inside of the body to see if there are any fragments of the bullet left or any major portions that are left behind.
And what type of things, what would you use to determine that?
The first thing that we would do, which we do in every instance of a gunshot wound or suspected shooting, is to take an x-ray. Because this is going to be actually the most valuable piece of information that we can use at the autopsy, because little tiny pieces we may not be able to see very well with our, with our naked eye when we get inside, but the x-ray is going to show even the tiniest pieces, and especially larger pieces.
And Dr. Sperry, if you were to receive a subpoena in a case that had occurred before your tenure in the office, so you didn't know what had been done, and the subpoena specifically asked you for the x-rays of the autopsy, what would be your reaction to that, in terms of knowing whether or not one would have been done and whether to look for it?
Well, I would hope that in any gunshot, if it was something that was done before my tenure, I would hope that the body had been x-rayed, because this is a standard procedure in any medical examiner's office in the country for a gunshot wound victim. You must do an x-ray. And then I would instruct my personnel to conduct a diligent search back through the files to find the x-ray that I assumed would be there. And so everything is cataloged, and so it should not be too difficult to find if indeed it's there.
And in this case, when you first began in the case in 1995, did you and Mr. Minton have some discussion about the missing x-ray?
Yes, we did have a discussion about the x-ray, yes.
And did you later learn that the x-ray had showed up?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And did Mr. Minton then show you the x-ray?
Yes, he did.
And I guess if we could, unfortunately this is the only copy we have of this, and I don't know if the governor reads x-rays, but he might want to have it in his packet. If we could maybe get a copy made and then deliver it to you.
Can. Please do this quickly.
Oh, yeah, we can get it done tomorrow.
Yes, that'd be fine.
And Dr. Sperry, did he show you, unfortunately we don't have a light table, but did he show you the x-ray, bring it down to your office in Atlanta and go over with you the x-ray in this case?
Yes.
And at that point you did have some kind of a light table or some kind of a light source?
Yes, I had some good light to look at it.
Okay. And what was significant about, and if we can possibly, I don't know if you can even show it with the ceiling lights, but is it possible to show what's the significance things are either are or aren't on this particular x-ray?
You really can't. I mean, you would have to hold it up to the light and look.
We have a copy, we have a picture of the x-ray that's in the exhibit that was previously given.
Really, the thing of most significance.
This is part of
pardon.
This picture right here.
Yes, sir.
Exhibit 13. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
The element of most significance is the fact that there is no evidence on the x-ray of any retained bullet fragment, retained jacket, any piece of metal that is inside of the officer's body in relationship to the gunshot wound. In other words, the totality of the bullet that entered on the left side of his chest exited from his right back, and there was nothing that was left behind.
And did you look also to that to see if you might find the fragments from the casing or the jacket?
Yes. Oh, yes.
And those were not there?
There is no metal fragments at all that are left behind that were in here. And this again is why we take such an x-ray, because even the small